I don't know from a standpoint of his personal opinion that leaves us without a continuity of government again, and that issue to me seems to be something that I want to address, and I think that the 6th district, I know the 6th district option does address that. You then have only 2 people that'll be battling each other if they decide to run against each other in that. I think it's a Mattapan district. So I'm leaning towards the 6th district.
Mr. Underwood?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with my colleague that with the 5 districts in place, we have 3 school board members in the same district. After holding several meetings, I've heard from constituents for 5 and 6, with 5 being the one that they wanted. I think the work of the committee has to be taken into consideration, and they spent long hours working and doing the research, and the one negative, as I said, is the 3 school board members in the same district, but I'm going to have to vote for 5, look at 5.
Okay, well, it's, you know, I guess I'll start with this. I may not be right all the time, but I am always consistent. And when we first started this process, knowing that Madison was twice as big as all the other districts, my thought was, let's keep them all the same and just split Madison in 2, and there would be a lot less confusion. Because one of the things I really don't like, and have seen quite a bit, is confusion during the election. I was one of those, thanks to Richmond, who had in the precinct that I represented 2 different House of Delegate members. And that does not come from this board or this board's action. That comes from Richmond and the General Assembly using old boundary lines. So whatever we come up with now, Richmond is going to be using those old boundary lines, and we're going to be confused. I don't like that confusion at all, as I said. So my thought was just split Madison in 2, however it split out, Landor, Lake Caroline, either way. I figured they both could be together. The rest of the county stayed the same. That was my thought process, and that's what I thought was right. I do respect all the work that the committee's done. I do respect the recommendations. I've, talked to Mr. Fincham while they were doing this, so I know how much they were working on it. And obviously, this is not a plan that's going to personally benefit me, because there are quite a few areas that I'm actually losing. Is it time for somebody to come in, or we ran out of time, or what? But the reality of it is, we did have the school board issue, although that's not something the committee has to consider. That's not something they even have to think about. But I thought it was fairly unfair to put 3 school board members in the same district. And for that reason, and the fact that I said in the beginning we should just split Madison in 2 and keep them all the same, I favor the 6th district plan. I figure that's as fair a compromise as we can get in moving forward. I don't think that 3 to 3 will be that prevalent, and I think it gives us all a fair chance to have good representation. So that's where I am. That's my position. I haven't changed it. So I think a motion would be in order in either case.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the approve an ordinance for the 6th district plan that was public hearing was held on this evening. That's my motion.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Akers, seconded by Mr. Popowitz, that the Board of Supervisors would forward to the Justice Department for approval the 6th District Plan as presented today for public hearing.
Could I ask that the board amend that motion to state subject to final review by the county attorney's office?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
Mr. Popowitz?
Sure.
Okay, the motion is to forward this to the Justice Department for review/approval, subject to review by the county attorney. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Chair detects division. Mr. Underwood, how do you vote?
Nay.
Mr. Popowitz, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Seeley, how do you vote?
Nay.
Mr. Akers, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So that motion passes 3-2. So we have taken care of agenda item number 7. Of course, this all is pending Justice Department approval, which we'll know in about 60 days. And I believe, what is that clicking?
I don't know.
The elections are supposed to be in November, and I believe the General Assembly is saying that the primaries would be in August.
23rd.
Yeah, so the primaries would be in August, the latter part of August, so I hope that gives you enough time. Okay? That's it. If you folks want to stay for the rest of the meeting, feel free. If not, we'll take a quick break to let you folks leave.
Hey, Bonnie.
Bonnie?
9A.
Your POA dues are too high. I can't afford a house in there.
We have
I'm going to do 9A.
Mr. Thomas.
All right, the board will reconvene. Agenda item number 9A was to recognize National Teacher Appreciation Day. So we will, I'm going to ask staff, Mr. Parton, if you will put together a letter to the, what is it, the 6 schools we have in the county? Send one to each of the 6 schools. And, express our appreciation to the hard work that all the teachers do for us. If that's the will of the board, and I would think it would be the will of the board. Okay. So that takes care of agenda item number 9A. Agenda item number 10 is the county administrator's report. And I do want to take objection to what Mr. Seeley said earlier. Before we do that, he said we don't have a county administrator. We actually do have a county administrator.
Well, I don't mean that we, no, I think Mr. Parton will take exception to him being the county administrator. As he reminded me, he is the acting county administrator, and I fully respect that. And I wasn't going to paint him in the corner as to being the county administrator, just to be fair to Mr. Parton.
We appreciate all the work Mr. Parton does in whatever capacity he's in. So, Mr. Parton, you have the privilege of doing the county administrator's report.
I will make it very brief, Mr. Chairman. You have the capital project summary. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have on that. That's the same summary we provide on a monthly basis. If there are no questions, just call your attention to a couple of calendar items, and that'll be it. Mr. Wilson asked me to remind you that there's the IDA Business Appreciation Reception this Thursday, 6 o'clock at the Visitor Center. The Relay for Life event will be held on the 14th at the County Fairgrounds. And Mr. Dybel mentioned the Ladysmith Day coming up on May 21st at Ladysmith Village. And that concludes my very brief report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Parton. I am,
You got the internet.
I'm wired.
Oh, she stole yours.
I am possibly going to be out of town Thursday, so I may be in Tennessee, I'm not sure, but if this coming Thursday for the business appreciation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're out, you're going to be
I
there.
will be there.
Yeah.
And you're out.
I'm going to be in Alexandria.
Okay, so we will check if Mr. Akers is the vice chair. I'll ask him if he's there to make remarks. If not, you'll be the only representative. And if this Nashville trip gets canceled, then I could possibly be there. But if you'll plan on it in case Mr. Akers doesn't show up. So, okay. That takes care of what we have, Mr. Parton. All righty. We will now take a motion to go into closed meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move the board convene in closed meeting pursuant to the personnel exemption of section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia to discuss the performance of an employee in the Department of Public Works and the potential employment of an individual to assist in connection with the wastewater treatment plant expansion. Am I loud now?
Oh.
And the consult with legal counsel and briefings by staff in section 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia to discuss specific legal matters and require the provision of legal advice by counsel involving the matters referring to in item number 1 above.
There is a second, and I think we're being asked about closing comments. Second. Aye.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have several. I'm concerned that we talk about saving funds for the county, yet we still have redundancies in services and maintenance and accounting and other services in the county that we still have not pushed that to try to bring those services together. That concerns me a great deal. I'm yet concerned that we've repeatedly asked the school board for a line item budget, which we have not received. That concerns me a great deal when they come in and say that we want money, yet we don't have the information to do proper check and balance. It concerns me. I'm concerned that we've asked for spending for vehicles for the schools, for the sheriff's office, for the county, yet we have yet to receive any maintenance records from those vehicles. I understand that they're well within the policy, but I would look at things this way. I was driving down the road in a 92 Honda the other day, and I saw a Mercedes on the side of the road. I was glad I was in my 92 Honda that was rolling right along, and the Mercedes on the side of the road. So, because it was older doesn't mean it didn't get the job done. And I think there has to be accountability here when people come to this board. I don't think they can come and ask for things before this board and say, you have to vote on it, or we have to do it in 10 days or 20 days or 30 days. I think we ought to set a precedent. If you're going to come to this board and ask for funds, that you bring everything with you and give us a time to digest what you're asking us to do. And I think that should be the standard. And finally, I've listened to people come and ask the board for pay raises. I want it to be known that this board does not give raises to teachers or bus drivers or anyone else. We appropriate the funds for the school, and the school makes that determination, not us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood. Mr. Popowitz?
I have none.
Mr. Seeley?
I have one comment. In the redistricting plan, we actually have lines drawn for precincts. And when you look at the new Bowling Green district, the line is actually right around town for voting. And I think folks that live on the 301 corridor would rather drive to Bowling Green than drive to Sparta. So if we could have planning just look at a good place to draw the line so that people living on the northern end of the district vote in Sparta and the rest of it go to Bowling Green to vote, I think it would be advantageous at this point.
Do we need
I don't,
Do we need a
Mr. Benson,
motion?
do we need any sort of a motion for that, or is that something that can be looked at in the plan? Mr. Emerson?
I don't know the plan long enough to know how big a move you're talking about, if it's a relatively minor move in the line.
Probably taking that population to a closer precinct and then have it drive a smart, which is further east. So it probably reduces traffic.
And it doesn't really affect the redistricting, so, yeah, it seems like it'd be okay.
So do we need a motion or no?
We can always take one, I mean, you can't hurt.
You'd like to make that a motion?
I'll make it a motion that we look at drawing the line for the 2 voting precincts, if we have to go to that, to make it equitable for the folks that live in the southern part of the district to drive to Bowling Green and stay on 301, and the Sparta folks, and you might, in the northern part of the district, vote in Sparta.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, that was it, Mr. Stillman?
That was it.
Mr. Akers, you have any closing comments?
I have a question. Mr. Pitcham, is the fact that we need to check and double check, make sure that we need
Right.
2 precincts in each.
Because in 6,
District.
you may not.
Right, because, we've had 1 precinct in Madison, and the Bowling Green,
Mattapani.
and the Mattapani district, ever since they've been created, and we've exceeded, in all cases, pretty much, we've almost exceeded what the population is in this year's census for each district, since we created 6 districts. So I just don't understand the need for 2, and as you and I spoke a few minutes ago, the chances are both of my precincts will be in the same building. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it just doesn't absolutely make sense. The 2 different doors, I guess, should come in. I don't know.
And you also have the other precinct issue with the Lake precinct.
Yes, the Lake precinct we need to make sure, check to see, and Ms. Popovich said they do, but they may have had to have special permission to have it, and if that's the case, but the fact is, you're not just creating, that's not a Lake district now. With this district, it is Charlesburg and all of that, so we may just set up Rehoboth, which is now in the Port Royal, serves as the Port Royal precinct, we can just make that, if they still allow it, the Charlesburg precinct.
That's what we were looking at.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Akers. Okay, for mine, we have, we neglected to schedule another budget work session. So can we come at 5 o'clock? I talked to Mrs. Hatcher earlier, and I think she has a balanced budget proposed now. So maybe if we came at 5 o'clock on the 23rd?
24th?
24th? Okay. Yeah, 10/24. If we come at 5 o'clock, we can probably review that for an hour, make whatever changes, adjustments we think need to be made, and we should be able to kind of lock down the budget. So we can do that. We'll meet at 5 o'clock on the 24th. And the other thing, to follow up on what Mr. Underwood said, and I don't think anybody at the school board actually remembered when we told them, when our joint meeting, but we all agreed as the Board of Supervisors that any additional funding the school board had this year, they could use for teacher bonuses. So if they have $500 a teacher at the end of the year, they could apply those bonuses, and the Board of Supervisors was in complete agreement with them doing that.
That's correct.
Yeah, and not just this year, but next year if that's what they want to do. And those would be one-time bonuses, so that would, help us with our management of the budget by not having the recurring theme. That's the amount they have left? Okay. So that's one thing. And then again, Mr. Underwood is exactly right. We don't do raises for any of the school employees. We just create the budget. And we appropriate money and they decide from there. So that's it for closed comments or closing comments. I didn't think I had one. Okay. So we will be in closed session in a second. Oh, the other one is Mr. Underwood brought up another, he brings up a lot of good points. And that's it. The candle that burns twice as bright only burns for half as long. So I think we addressed with the sheriff before the cars, and we addressed with the school board before their buses. But both of them have policies in place. Policies are not rules, but they're policies for replacement. And I think what you're saying is we need to look at that policy again.
I'd like to see,
Right.
any additional funds on the vehicle and it's working fine, then should we replace it because the policy says we need to replace it, or do we need to look at it and say, maybe we can go another year?
And that's all part of our cost saving thing. So I think that's, Mr. Parton, you've got those policies. I'm sure the county staff, if you would like to, if you could get those to the board members for our meeting on the 24th, we could at least review those again. And maybe as our schedule permits in June, we could look at it. Say what? Oh, you going? I was going to ask you to make the comments because I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be I'm flying.
No, I'm going to be in Alexandria.
So we're gonna go into, we'll finish this discussion. We're gonna go into closed meeting right now. So we'll be in closed meeting. I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certify.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, do I need to start all over? Okay, we all certified, and we have a 5 o'clock, 5 to 6 budget work session on the 24th. But we have enough time to advertise that chain so we don't have to adjourn too. So a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So move.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. That motion carries unanimously. We stand adjourned.